Insurance copays, of all things, are contributing to the opioid epidemic in Colorado. We've promised you in-depth coverage of this complicated problem. So tonight, I'll look at what happens when risking addiction to painkillers is cheaper than better treatment. Here's Anusha Roy.
The reality is hard to live with.
Say a patient comes into my office and they have a knee problem, but that could be addressed with physical therapy. If we can work on strengthening and flexibility, we could fix the problem. But because it can sometimes be $80 out of pocket for each physical therapy visit, it's really hard for someone to afford that.
That's when Dr. Jonathan Clapp says doctors are caught between treating pain and not bankrupting their patients.
So someone that might be genetically or psychologically predisposed to addiction might have a very functional life, be doing great, happy, healthy, and then all of a sudden we give them one of these medications and it may destroy them.
So he's been persistent,
nagging him for 2 years,
in talking to the people who could change that.
Have willingness to challenge the status quo when it comes to insurance policies.
Democratic Representative Chris Kennedy hopes to cut down on out-of-pocket costs by making non-opioid meds and opioid meds that are less addictive cheaper. It would also work to make physical therapy, occupational therapy, and acupuncture more affordable. State lawmakers have the ability to do this within a certain capacity.
Yes, for the insurance plans that are regulated by the state, which is about a third of the covered lives in Colorado.
The idea has been sitting on the back burner since 2017. Back then, legislators couldn't get enough support to push it forward. But this time around, there's a Democratic trifecta at the Capitol, which is encouraging some lawmakers to pick the issue back up, even as some healthcare representatives have started asking for meetings, saying this could drive up premiums.
So just because the cost would go down for patients doesn't mean the cost magically disappears. It's often absorbed by insurance companies. And like we just said, right, some of these companies are starting to ask questions about this. But for the specifics on how much money this would cost, of course, it's really early on. It's still being worked on. So is the bill that needs to pass out of committee, needs to be approved by a legislative council before it can even be introduced in the next session in January. But this conversation is well underway.
So if you have doctors dealing with patients who are going to end up on the opioid route, maybe because of financial reasons, they're pretty attuned to the danger of that.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And what they're doing is they're left with nothing but just asking questions, saying, what's your history? Are you predisposed to this? And trusting the answers they're getting back, and then hopefully finding a way to monitor it, and if possible, a financially responsible way to help them too with something that doesn't require pills.
Something we hadn't thought of in this complex issue. Anusha, thank you. Climate change is pretty much the issue that separates the Democratic Senate frontrunner, John Hickenlooper, from some of the more progressive candidates in the rest of the field. But don't look for Hick to debate his opponents on this issue at Colorado's Climate Forum this coming Sunday, because he's not going. His spokeswoman says he has a scheduling conflict. You can expect Hick's opponents to criticize him as being too cozy with oil and gas, but they won't be able to say it to his face, because his face won't be at the event. The impacts of climate change in Colorado are getting national attention this week. Our former colleague here at 9 News, NBC News correspondent Tom Costello, is back in Colorado highlighting the issue today. Colorado has seen its temperature increase on average 2 degrees over the last 30 years. Scientists say that winters here are becoming far less predictable. Last year, we had record snowfall after several years of drought.
Is this just the new normal?
Our environment has changed around us, and it's not so much that it's the new normal, but the old normal doesn't exist anymore.
You know, September's been hot in Denver. It's been record hot, and it's easy to be like, yay, warm, but again, this is not normal. Historically, Denver does get a little bit of snow each September, an inch of snow on average in September over the last century plus. But the last time that Denver saw measurable snowfall in December was a dusting back in the year 2000. Our next question comes from a viewer named David. He wants to know what material was used to make the famous white tent roof at the terminal at DIA. He's especially curious about what makes it so durable. The airport tells us those 21 tents that make up the roof are Teflon-coated fiberglass fabric. It's the same stuff they make politicians out of. Each tent at DIA is suspended from pylons. It's attached up there with cables and buckles. They have 2 layers of that special fabric plus the Teflon coating, and that's how the roof can stand up to our hailstorms. So David's question got us wondering about how that tent roof is maintained. There are specialized airport employees and contractors that are rope access technicians. Their job is to dangle about 150 feet over the airport floor to clean and maintain those tents. That's a job. Send us in search of an answer you've been looking for. We're always accepting next questions. Email next@9news.com or give us a shout with the hashtag #HeyNext. Colorado has a workforce crisis, even with our low unemployment rate, because businesses cannot find workers, can't find replacements for all the retiring nurses and welders and pilots, people with specialized skills. Our Nelson Garcia looks at a training program that's so popular, the Jefferson County School District is building a whole new campus.
I do bananas faster, you talk, I do, and then you do bananas faster than I talk.
Within the walls of Warren Tech, more students have become interested
The new group can come on in.
Career and trade education, like senior Mariah Munoz.
Hi, so welcome to Culinary Arts. This is a 2-semester program. When I was little, I just liked cooking, and then this seemed like a fun program to be in.
Whoa. Cooking, metalwork and welding.
So you're in game development.
Software.
Oh my God, it's a cow.
These are all careers where there is an expected shortage of workers, according to Warren Tech principal Heather Keaton.
Yep, we have lots of retirees, and there's going to be a lot of open jobs.
Students like Munoz are trying to inform current 8th graders about career paths that are out there.
We offer all types of career clusters, and so we have a lot of programming in the healthcare industry right now. That is an industry that has a huge need.
Warren Tech has become so popular, Jeffco Schools will build a 3rd campus in the southern part of the county.
And we just don't have the physical space any longer. We've outgrown both our north and central campuses.
It's a good way to test about what you want to do for your career instead of just going to college and then wasting money and realizing you don't like it.
There are lots of high-paying jobs where our students can get a certification and go straight into industry and the workforce immediately out of high school. And for a lot of people, that's a good option for them.
Preparing for the next 10 years and beyond.
I think it's really cool for people to discover what they want at more of a younger age.
In 2018, voters passed a bond issue for school construction in Jeffco. $10 million of that money will jumpstart the expansion of a 3rd Warren Tech campus. The location hasn't been divulged, nor have the final details, but the new campus is scheduled to open in the fall of 2021. Kyle?
It seems, Nelson, we're talking about a couple of different problems here. You've got the job skills gap, and then you also heard that young woman reference kids going to college and piling up all kinds of debt when maybe college isn't the right choice for everybody.
Exactly. It wasn't too long ago when schools were really pushing the idea that everybody needs to go to college, but now we're realizing that that's not really the answer for everybody.
All right, Nelson Garcia, thank you.
You're welcome.
CDOT wants to buy some land along I25 through downtown to eventually expand the interstate. We've talked about that. Now we're hearing about a timeline. CDOT thinks that Union Pacific may be ready to sell its property by early next year. Told you that CDOT was looking at 5 different options for the area, and it settled on a plan that would move the railroad to the east to free up some space to expand I-25 in place. They wouldn't reroute it. CDOT wants the rail yard that's known as the Burnham Yard in order to construct this project, and they hope to buy the property by late this year or early 2020. Now, that doesn't mean that's when they're going to do the project. There are a lot of other factors that will play into this. They have to look at environmental studies. There's going to be public input and so forth. It could be at least 2 years before that project gets started, if not even longer. All right, so I waited to bring this up. 1, because I try not to tell you things you already know, and 2, because this news hurts. But the Broncos are bad at football, which would not be a big deal if it was you or me, but they are a professional football team, so being bad at it is unfortunate. And the Rockies, I mean, they didn't even sniff the postseason, so here we sit, just waiting for the Avs and the Nuggets to start playing. It has been 20 years since the Broncos opened the season 0-4, 1999. That happened to be a big year in Denver sports. It's the year that the Pepsi Center opened. But can anybody here remember how the Rockies, the Nuggets, and the Avs did that year in 1999? No cheating, no Googling, but if you've got old school knowledge rattling around in your head parts, email me during the break, next@9news.com, or get my attention with the hashtag #HeyNext. Trying to have a solar decathlon without very much sun. It's one of our favorite Next stories of all time. But a School of Mines team found a place with sun, and they tore up the competition.
And so having the solar village located in Ben Gurir just kind of creates a central renewable hub within Morocco.
And it's a sign that some stores are catering to hardcore Coloradans. You have to look back 20 years to find a Broncos season that started as badly as this one, 1999. Before the break, I asked if anybody remembered what Denver's other teams did in the fall of '99 when they suddenly were in the spotlight.
The last time the Broncos were this bad, 0-4 out of the gate, the Rockies were similarly no help in providing something to get excited about. The 1999 Rockies won 72 games. This year it was 71. At least back in '99, Larry Walker won another batting title. So Denver sports fans desperate for distraction had to turn to the teams at the Pepsi Center, which opened 20 years ago Tuesday with a performance by Celine Dion. Sports fans' hearts would go on, but not for long with the Nuggets. They bounced along near 500 that year. They traded Chauncey Billups to the Magic. He'd be back. And they finished 5th in the Midwest. Back in 1999, the Broncos didn't really bounce back from the 0-4 start. They finished 6-10 in their first season after John Elway's retirement. But Colorado at least had the Avs to talk about that year. Sakic, Hayduk, Waugh, Drury, Forsberg. They won 14-17 to finish the regular season. They beat the Coyotes in the Western Conference quarters, then the Red Wings in the semis, before they lost to the Stars in 7 in the Western Conference Finals. Broncos? What Broncos? Go Avs.
And during this anniversary week for the Pepsi Center, Kroenke Sports has announced they have a 1-year extension to Pepsi's naming rights agreement, so the can will remain the can. And a quick correction, my thanks to Andrea and David, who both caught when I misspoke earlier. I said the wrong month at one point when talking about our lack of September snow in Denver. It is the month of September when Denver has seen an inch on average over the last century, and we last got measurable snow in the city in September in 2000.
Oh, September, we're going to miss you. October tomorrow, and we will greet the new month with cloudy, cooler weather and maybe some rain. When I say cooler, I mean temperatures tomorrow in the 50s and 60s. Yesterday, almost 90. Today, mid-70s. The first of 2 fronts coming through, moisture feeding in from the south, a change in the weather pattern that will lead us into a more fall-like feel for the next couple of days. There are a few showers out on the far eastern plains. That moisture backs into Denver by about 10:30 tonight. The fog will persist through the mid-morning hours, and travel on I-76 tomorrow could be a bit problematic due to visibility. Some heavy rain possible around Kit Carson, Lamar, and Burlington. The fog will linger, and then we go partly sunny in the afternoon, but a cooler day coming in after a chilly night. Partly cloudy and 45 with overnight light showers and fog that will persist off and on during the day. A mix of clouds and sun. Highs on Tuesday, upper 50s, low 60s, marking the most interesting day of the week weather-wise, and then low 70s for Thursday, close to 80 on Friday. And my, oh my, fall in the high country is something to behold. Keep those weather pictures coming.
Kathy, thank you. It is a sign that summer is turning to fall, but that grilling season in Colorado is 12 months long. Because if hand warmers and sidewalk salt are grilling essentials, as the sign indicates, well, then you're a hardcore griller, and I salute you. Our viewer Tanya spotted this at a drugstore at Quebec in Leetsdale. It's never too early to think about keeping that grill going when the snow's falling, but send us the signs to make you do a double take. Hashtag is HeyNext or email next@9news.com. If you're grilling in the middle of winter, you're tough, but you are still not as tough as Kristin Aguirre. You often ask about our friend and colleague who had a stroke a couple of months ago. Viewer named Linda emailed Next on Friday asking for an update, and Kristin was happy to share one with us to share with you. Linda, Kristin's doing great. After nearly 6 months of physical therapy at Craig, she had her last session today. When she went to Craig for therapy, she could not walk, and now she is back running. She's very open about her journey, stroke recovery, on her Instagram and Facebook pages. I encourage you to follow our friend Kristin Aguirre there, and we look forward to welcoming her back here soon.
Sustainability isn't a short-term project. Just listen to these students at Colorado School of Mines.
So I've been working on this since I was a freshman here at Mines, and same with you. So 4.5 years into it.
Their hard work paid off in a first-ever solar competition in Africa. And apparently there's a version of Next made specifically for Fort Collins. I do not recognize the anchors.
When I think back to some of the most memorable, some of the most unusual stories we've had on Next, I think back to October 9th, 2017. So the big plan was for Denver to host this solar power competition. It was the day of a big snowstorm.
First thing, we got in and there was about 3 inches of snow on them. We came up here and brushed them off, and now we're up to almost 2 kilowatt hours. A sunny day, we usually get 5.5 kilowatts out of these guys.
So that didn't go as planned. There was a group of students from the Colorado School of Mines there that day at the snowed out decathlon. They were actually preparing for a competition that was held this month, the Solar Decathlon Africa in Morocco. This time, there was sun.
Can't say it's fully hit me yet.
You know the feeling?
We're incredibly proud, and we know we did it.
The feeling when everything goes according to plan.
The first time someone mentioned the Solar Decathlon to me, I was like, that is not anything we'll ever be able to do.
Katie Schneider and Lucy Davis know how it feels.
This time last year, we were looking at past winners, and like maybe we could, design our house like them, or we can use things that they did. And now, we're that team, so it's crazy.
Their team won the 2019 Solar Decathlon Africa, which was held in Morocco.
So I've been working on this since I was a freshman here at Mines, and same with you.
Me.
So 4.5 years into it.
So we partnered with 2 Moroccan universities, Qadiyad University and the National School of Architecture in Marrakesh.
Our house, the entire house, was really designed around a very traditional Moroccan architecture and other elements mixed with really modern Western technologies.
We integrated sustainable materials and energy efficient systems to kind of create a whole system that works.
Universities competed to build solar powered homes.
So our mission was really to help encourage that kind of movement in sustainable housing.
Katie stayed on campus.
Long story short, I didn't go because I'm in graduate school, so it's really hard for me to miss that much class.
While Lucy handled the team in Morocco.
I landed today at 2 a.m. So
yep.
I just got back, missed 5 weeks of school, but here we are.
After 4.5 years of planning,
I picked her up.
Yes.
It was great.
They'll need more than a day for this to sink in.
That is teamwork, yeah. And then I got to fill her in on everything on the way back from the airport, which was fun.
For Next, I'm Chris Hansen.
The Inter-House team won a cash prize of $150,000, and they plan to put it toward building the U.S.-Moroccan partnership that they formed with this project. I was never big on dressing up our dog. My wife would occasionally disagree, but I didn't care what you did with your dog until somebody dressed up their dogs as me and Steve Stager. And this was a very public production. Next. What'd you do this weekend? I was working like a dog that looks like me working. Have you ever heard of Fort Collins' Tour de Corgis? Apparently this is like a big parade, big deal. Please tell me these guys won Best Costume, because Kellen Story dressed up their Corgis as Next with Corgi Clark. Raphael the Corgi is Steve Stager, but you could tell the difference by looking. Chimichanga the Corgi is me. Chimichanga's the smug-looking one. Thanks to all the folks who sent us photos of the Next Corgis and were like, hey, it's you, but a dog. We got so many photos sent to us of this. That's fantastic. A note from Phil Butcher, who says, I distinctly recall when the airport was built, it was reported the life of the roof was 30 years. Best I can recall, it went up in 92, so it's 27, 28 years old. Are they about to replace the roof? I don't know, Phil, but I promise you the next team will get you an answer. See you next time.